Hey everybody, welcome to Astronaut Lounge. I'm Poppa Stonks, and today we have BondPay. BondPay is a fintech company that aims to bridge DeFi and TradeFi for everyone. They are currently having a pre-sale which ends on March 28th. So listen in. If you like what you hear, maybe you can get an early entry. With that said, I'd like to introduce Chris and Shane. Guys, if you want to give a quick introduction about yourselves, and then we can dive into the project.
Yeah, I can kick off. So my name is Shane. I am from Ireland. I am currently the strategic advisor to BondPay. I have been around the DeFi world working in it now for roughly around 18 months. And I have been held various positions in different projects. Glow Token, I was the chief operations officer there. I moved to advisory then, and I've been an advisor to many projects in the DeFi space, sort of specializing in projects that are starting up and sort of midlife and looking to make a pivot. So I'll pass you over to Chris, who is the current director of development. His company are providing all the smart contract services and the utility build out for BondPay. So I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Chris. Everyone knows me as Meta Captain within the space. I've been a developer here, doing a lot of work, definitely within BSC, a couple other chains as well for a few years, worked with some of the largest projects down to small little startups. Love the work I do. Happy to be a part of BondPay's vision, dream, bringing that to reality. Thank you for having me here.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys for coming. So yeah, actually, Meta Captain. I think I've seen you in BBR before. So
In Burn Reflect, I think so. I actually joined their chat the other day because they were talking about a few things, and I got interested in some stuff. A lot of people have at least seen me once or twice. I spent years working a little bit more in the shadows and backgrounds, but once I started MetaBUSD, I kind of got thrown up in the limelight. So now people see me more often whenever I'm doing my development work around in the space, but still same old guy.
100%, man. All right, so let's dive into BondPay. So what exactly is BondPay? What is the utilities and goals of this project?
I paused for a moment to see if Shane was going to jump in. Yeah, I can go ahead and take that one.
I was chatting away on mute.
Oh, okay. Well, here, Shane, do you want to go? You can take it.
I normally take this. I'll let you talk about the application then. So I'll kick it off where we currently are, where we're currently standing. So BondPay are currently in pre-sale rounds, as you've said. We are based on the Ethereum network. We have currently already completed our private sale where 50k USDT has been raised. I just say USDT just for ease of access. We say US dollars. It was raised in BNB Smart Chain. This initially started off as a Smart Chain project and then pivoted to ETH. We are now in our public pre-sale round, and we are about 10% full in that. We are closing it off on Tuesday, and then we are going to move to a launch pad with the remaining funds. There's the 3% buy and sell tax. The utility is, there's a lot of them. So for any of them who sort of wants to do a really deep dive into the utilities, you can check out the website, but I'll give a really high level overview as not to bore people. Keep people interested and sort of give a high level overview of what the token is about. So BondPay aim to sort of make a bridge between fiat and DeFi. And how they're going to achieve this will be through their centralized application that will be the core of all the services. And the technology behind this is provided by Circle through their CYVavo wallet. And Chris does a great job about talking about like what this application is and how all our other services are going to be developed off it. So Chris, you want to just give a little high-level overview of the centralized application and how the other utilities tie into it?
Yes. Most of you, if you have ever heard me speak before, you know that I'm a DeFi maxi, and I typically hate anything that has any centralized function. That said, in some certain scenarios and cases, you end up having to utilize those typical those typical things that tie into a centralized platform in order to facilitate real services. What I mean by that, to not be vague, KYCing, account custodial ownership of funds, things like that are required for lending services, credit card processing, merchant account settlements. So how do you do that and accomplish it in a way that is safe, secure, and at least receptible for people like me, or more receptive than some of the current tools that we have? And a big answer to that question is public audibility. So we're not vague there. We know exactly what we're talking about. I mean, your ability to be able to verify and view your funds, all funds on platform, and all reserves at all times. That is a key, like, foundational difference between BondPay's platform and what you typically see in the market. They don't have a black box anywhere. Everything's built on chain, verifiable by you.
All right, that's awesome. So let me just kick off real quick. So with the private sale and the pre-sale, what is the distribution on that? What percentage of supply were allocated to each?
It's roughly like 6% and then 21%, I believe. Off the top of my head, that's the numbers I have. The total pre-sale allocation, including private sale, is right above 25%. That same allocation, slightly under, is matched for liquidity, and then the rest of the tokens are held on platform for on-platform services and exchanges. They will be locked and vested for the platform releases.
Okay, so is that just the private sale locked or vested, or is that the pre-sale?
No. Sorry, just to be very clear there, I apologize. No, there is no vesting period for private sale participants or for pre-sale participants. I meant for the token allocation that's left over that wasn't allocated immediately towards liquidity. There are some tokens that are held by the team, but they're not held in individual wallets. They're held in lockers, and they're for platform services such as swaps and then exchange listings as well.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, so 6% to the private sale, which was 50,000 raised. Um, how much are you guys raising in this pre-sale? What is the hard cap on the pre-sale for the 21%?
Yes. So the soft cap is 50 ETH and the hard cap is 100. So yeah, that's the answer there. Yeah.
Okay.
And to be clear, what they allocated for private sale wasn't completely filled. They didn't, like, they set aside an allocation. They didn't fill their private sale completely. Like, it didn't sell all those tokens. I would have to get back to you on the exact number for percent that what actually was utilized. And then for further clarity on that, that percentage that was left over was just reallocated for pre-sale. So that's what I meant earlier by, like, oh, the total allocation for pre-sale and private sale was 26%.
25. Yeah.
25,
Okay.
sorry.
Yep. Okay, perfect. And I heard somewhere in there you mentioned Circle. So are you guys partnered with Circle somehow?
Yeah, we have a business account, and the whole application that Chris was talking about is based off of Circle's technology through their CYVavo wallet.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So USDC does not affect the price impact of bond pay it,
No,
in
no,
any
not at all.
like if so like yeah if USDC was to depeg again and yeah so that would not affect bond pay at all.
No, not at all.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So 3% buy, 3% sell. What is the allocation going for that?
Again, I'm out at the moment, so I don't have the exact breakdown, but like it is your sort of common things. 0.15% is used for sort of the community buyback and distribution. So what I will sort of say about, and then the rest of the percentages, they go to the usual sort of cases, marketing, LP, operations, that sort of thing. And what I will say about this project is um, it's one of those sort of projects in the space, sort of what everything's sort of starting to slowly transition towards. It has those external revenue generators. So if you look through the website or the roadmap, you can see that they are going to have offerings of their wallet, their debit card, being able to pay bills directly from the application, especially in those sort of third world countries where people still need to go to the shops and stuff to pay their bills. They won't need to be able to. They won't need to do this through their bank anymore. They'll be able to do this through the BondPay. They won't have to go down to the shop anymore. They'll be able to do this through the BondPay platform directly. So there's every time one of these transactions happens, it feeds back into the token, whether that be an external revenue generation or through the transaction fee in the token itself. So that's sort of like where I'm trying to like really have a good chat about the space, and where I think projects really need to progress is to have that external revenue generation to bring value to investors and to the project itself, and to make it long-term sustainable, because we've all seen that those projects that are sort of don't have any sort of utility or external revenue generation are all just starting to fold during this sort of a market.
Right. Okay. So are you guys going to have like a physical debit card that people
Yeah,
can use?
yeah. So we will have a debit card. This again will be through a third-party provider, just because of the regulatory and compliance issues that needs to happen with something like this. To build something like this yourself would obviously cost a fortune and would take endless amount of time. So they have a third party provider already set up, and there will be benefits and stuff for having this card, and cashback scenarios and stuff as well. Some of the ideas that have been floated and not sort of signed off on as well is to access a lot of these services, you'll have to hold a certain amount of bond pay. And that also creates good buy pressure on the charts and provides value for investors to the token as well.
Yeah, 100%. So are people are going to be able to use their BondPay tokens to actually like pay bills through this service with the card, or are they going to be using other assets like Ethereum?
Yeah, so the end goal would be to be using BondPay through these services, but in the wallet that BondPay, we will have that stable coin base as well. Initially to start, because obviously using an Ethereum based token is a little bit more difficult at the start, and it's just some other issues that we need to overcome. But to get a minimum viable product out, we would be using those stable coins first to begin with, and then the transaction fees would directly tie back into the native token, providing value to the investors.
Yeah, personally, I think that would be the better route to stick with, honestly, instead of using actual BondPay to, to complete these transactions, because in turn, those tokens would need to be sold, to provide funds and liquidity.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's sort of the way I've been pushing the team. So it's yet to be signed off on, but I do envisage that what will happen. Anything to stop sell pressure is good in my eyes.
Yeah, definitely. And so, what is the transaction fee? Like, if somebody was to use the card, what is the transaction fee that is going back into the token?
So it hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, but it will be sort of in line with industry standards. So like I think the usual sort of debit card transaction fees at the moment They're about 1.9% overall to the payment provider. So we would probably be only putting adding like a 0.1 or 0.2% onto this. As not to like no one's going to use the debit card if it's really high fees. So that would be
Right.
the case. So it'll be probably around 2% and 0.1 of that going back into the token itself. But this whole project is about mass adoption and getting big external volume in, and that's why they are partnering with the likes of Circle. There's some other third parties involved as well that we can't speak about. They have a dedicated law firm on board that specializes in fintech, one of the few that actually specialize in fintech, and they're not cheap. And they've the CEO and COO Giovanni and Hector. Why they can't attend here today is they are actually at a accelerator meetup. So BondPay are currently chatting with sort of like what you typically refer to in the space as angel investors, but they're more sort of brick and mortar investors looking to get into fintech businesses, especially in Puerto Rico. The government are really, really pushing crypto just because of the way the banking service is there. There's only 3 main banks based in Puerto Rico, and one of them's after collapsing. So they're really pushing sort of crypto to sort of have that connectivity to the rest of the world and ease of access for financial transactions.
Yeah, 100%. That brings me to where is the company registered at?
It is actually based in, I would like to say, it's in the USA. I think it's Wyoming, just because they wanted to register it as a C Corp to be able to basically take those investors in. Had to be registered as a C Corp. But there is talks now about opening up the subsidy back in Puerto Rico. When this was started about 6 or 7 months ago, and as you know, the regulations are constantly shifting, and there was issues with registering in Puerto Rico, so it went for the US. But now, as of late, it may move back to Puerto Rico
Well,
as registration.
hang on, let me stop you right there. You're registering in the U.S. or Puerto Rico is the same thing. Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. So
Yeah, it was just to do with the
the
states,
laws are the
with
same.
like Wyoming or something like that.
Yeah. State laws and federal laws, they do differ sometimes, but in all reality, it all comes back to the federal law. And the SEC is going to have purview over this. Um, so what is being done, as far as legally wise, to not have you registered as a security? You've got funds going back into the tokens, just like shares. Uh, so where are you getting around the security laws on this?
Again, that's something that Giovanni and Hector and heavy talks with the law firm that they took on to make sure that the way they roll out the utilities and projects that isn't affected, and that's something that the lawyers are advising heavily on. As I've said, this is still in a pre-sale phase, so all these sort of details haven't been worked out yet.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, you probably know where I'm coming from with the whole, the XRP thing and everything. Um, holding an ICO or something like that, pretty much automatically labels you as a security in the U.S. Uh, so I think that is definitely something that should be looked at in farther depth as far as registering the company.
Yeah, and this is why you see, like, I'm not speaking about Bombay here, but I'm just talking about in general. Like, this is why you see a lot of these sort of projects struggling to get off the ground in the US. They go for a European launch first, just because those regulations in Europe are just that little bit easier to navigate. Like, in my day job, I'd be involved with companies acquiring banking licenses and stuff like that, and a lot of them would sort of set up in Lithuania, just because the laws and stuff are just that little bit easier to navigate in Europe.
Yeah. Okay. So do you guys already have a signed contract with the banking firm that is going to distribute these cards?
No, they don't. They're just being in talks, so it's just a capital issue at the moment for the debit card issue. But when it comes to the Circle and Ciobavo account, where the whole application is going to be based out of, the business account is already set up with them.
Okay. So at launch, are you going to have a fiat on ramp or off ramp?
At launch, no, but it is the ambition. Fiat on ramp will happen. There's sort of already a gateway that they figured out for that. But Fiat off ramp is obviously that little bit more difficult to navigate. But the end goal is to be able to provide that both to our project and then both to other projects as a service as well, to bring in additional external revenue.
All right, awesome. So let's just real quick. So what utilities are going to be live at launch? At the launch day of the token, what utilities are live?
So the first utilities that will roll out will be the centralized application powered by Ciobavo and Circle, and then it will move onto the wallet, then debit card, and it will sort of escalate from there. It will be about 80 to 90 days from launch to sort of get the three of them rolled out, because obviously you have to have the token live to be able to roll out these utilities. And I think that's a reasonable timeline compared to a lot of projects that promise the sun, moon, and stars and don't roll out anything.
Oh no, 100%, man. A lot of projects promise a lot of things, and they can never deliver. So are the funds? So 50K raised in the pre-sale, minimum of say 60 or a minimum of 75K raised, or 50K in pre-sale, minimum of 75 with the soft cap, and pre-sale. How much of those funds are going into development, securing these deals, and getting this on the road?
Yeah,
And
so out of the funds raised, and I think I know what you're alluding to here, is like how much is going to go into liquidity and stuff like that, because everyone wants to see a decent amount go in there. Like, so it will be 60% of funds raised will be going into the liquidity pool, and the rest of the funds will be used purely for the development of these services. And it's being well calculated to be able to produce a minimum viable product, and then to be able to have these additional external revenue offerings to be able to bring in additional funding as the project moves forward, because I'm sure you're understanding from everything you're hearing here, it's not a cheap project to get off the ground to where they want to be.
yeah, definitely, man. None of this is cheap. So that's kind of where I was getting at. Are the funds going to be available to actually get these utilities running and off the ground?
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's sort of why they've gone the third party route rather than trying to build out all these services under themselves. So it'll be all white labeled third party route. But the smart thing they're doing here from a development point of view will be a lot of APIs and plugins, so that everything sort of runs seamlessly and together. But they won't really be building out the services themselves. It's more of a platform offering, if that makes sense.
yeah, definitely. And okay, so with that said, so if you're going third party, are they going to be paid, uh, on a contract basis monthly? Where are those funds coming from? Are they going to come from volume? Can those be stopped because they can't be paid?
Yeah, so a lot of these third party services, I think apart from one of them, are based on a fee. So we'll have a minimum monthly payment and then the rest will be based on a fee. Again, as I said, this is why the team are looking to a lot of these companies that we're doing. We've looked like this has sort of been in the development for about 12 months. And a lot of these companies that are providing the third services are completely business to business applications. And so we completely whitelist it and we can offer services to other projects then as well. So that will help drive revenue into the project moving forward as well.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So just basic rundown of all the utilities planned. Just name them down the list. All
Yeah,
the utilities
so
planned in the roadmap.
yeah, so we have the centralized sort of application that everything will be based out of, we'll have bill payments, our wallet, debit and credit cards, we'll have peer-to-peer lending. We had floated the idea of banking as a service, but we have since sort of moved away from that just due to regulatory issues, and the way the whole space of banking has gone at the moment. We don't want to have the word bank associated with ourselves at all, as you can get for obvious reasons. It will be more of
Right.
Tradeify services is really the main offering.
Yeah, 100%, man. I definitely wouldn't want to have anything near the name bank attached to my project.
No, definitely not. So, like, obviously, this has been a project where the CEO and CEO, it's like the CEO and COO have been pivoted quite a few times during the launch, but that's really what makes a successful business. Like in my day job, I'd do a lot of business consulting, and those businesses are able to pivot and sort of have the things in place to pivot fast are the ones that sort of make it. And I don't really associate I'd be quite well known in the BSC space, and not so much in ETH, but we sort of had to make that pivot to ETH just due to our third party commitments, and BNB just wasn't going to be a good fit, as I'm sure you can understand for obvious reasons.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. For the same exact reasons, I've kind of gone over with the securities and everything else, and the U.S. based companies. So yeah, BNB would not be a good fit. And at the same time, Ethereum is still under attack by the SEC here in the
Whole,
U.S.
the whole of crypto is under attack.
Yeah, no
It
shit.
doesn't matter what chain you're on.
Like, can I say on that note, wildly so, like, Ethereum being attacked by the U.S. is insane, but it surely is happening.
I could barely hear you there, Chris.
Oh, my PC is playing jokes on me. Can you hear me better now?
Hang
I'm
on.
sorry.
I can hear you fine, Chris.
It might just be me.
Chris's PC does this from time to time. He has way too much of a setup going on.
He's mining too much crypto at the same time.
No, Chris would be a dev to if you're invested in a BNB project in the space that's doing anyway well or big, Chris has probably had his hand in it somewhere. I'm sure everyone knows here there's not many people writing decent smart contracts in the space, and Chris and his company be behind a lot of them. In fairness, I'm
Oh yeah,
conscious
I've definitely known who Chris was.
yeah, I'm conscious of the time here, so I want to give time for anyone to ask any questions. I'm just going to give another high-level overview of sort of where we're at. So BondPay are based on the Ethereum network, and 3% buy and sell tax. We are currently in public pre-sale. There's two ways to get involved in this. The first way is through a swapper contract. So you basically send Ethereum to the contract address, and you will get your BondPay sent back into the wallet automatically, and it will be instant. Second way is through Coinbase, and so basically you follow a link and you just enter your details. You will not get this BondPay until the public pre-sale closes, and the public pre-sale will close on Tuesday, and we will probably remove the remaining funds then to a launchpad, just to get that better exposure and to fill the pre-sale. And this was all part of the marketing plan. But if anyone has any questions pop up, ask away. I need to bounce here in 3 minutes again. It was short notice for ourselves, for myself and Chris, marketing guy. We have been doing AMAs sort of all day, all week. I think this is around our 20th one. Again, apologies for the COO and the CEO not being able to make it today. They are currently at that accelerator event. and we will be
Yeah,
on Binance Live then tomorrow.
yeah. Two questions. So, what launchpad are you using, and how much have you guys raised in the pre-sale so far? What do you guys
Um,
need to hit that soft cap?
yeah, we haven't decided on the launch pad yet because we want to get one more dedicated to Ethereum, and have that marketing involved and get the right package for it. But we will sort of decide that this week. Um, and then on the raise, we would ideally like to raise about another 35 ether, so just to give this the best chance at success for our investors. I am a big believer in minimal viable products, but we also want a product that's viable enough so that investors can get a decent return off the project as well. And it provides value to everyone, and the team can do what they've committed to doing.
100%. And as far as that raise goes, I just want to touch on there is no minimum, and the max is 3 ETH. So I just wanted to throw that out there since you
Yeah,
didn't.
that's correct. And we've made it accessible to everyone. I'm a firm. I'm a person who didn't come from a wealthy background. I've sort of made myself in life, so we wanted to make it sort of accessible to everyone.
100%. All right. Well, guys, I will open it up. Does anybody in the audience here have any questions for Chris or Shane?
Either talk too good or confused everyone.
I did fix my microphone now, so I think you can hear me. And if anybody
Oh,
has a
I can
question,
hear you.
I can
I can hear
answer it.
you now. I can hear you now. You must have got Verizon.
I am going to jump off if that's okay, but if there's any questions, I'll give it another minute. And if not, thanks very much for having us here, especially on the short notice. And it's always a pleasure to speak with different communities. And come join the BondPay Discord. Even if you don't want to invest in BondPay, we encourage good conversations about the space going forward. And anyone who follows me on Twitter I'll be a bit edgy in my content. That's sort of the way I like to engage a good conversation.
Hey, so yeah, real quick, yeah, drop your Twitter link in the chat, and I will follow you. But is the main BondPay community in Discord, or is it in TG?
We have Discord and TG, and both are sort of as active as each other. We're sort of trying to cater for both audiences, and then we have the bots in Discord, so people can follow the Telegram chat in Discord as well.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
I
Perfect.
was going
Thank
to
you.
say,
Thank you again for coming, Shane.
I was going to say very specifically, they make sure they bridge their community. So everything's bridged. You can chat in either one of the chats, and it's going to hit all three of them. They have a Spanish-speaking chat, an English-speaking chat, and then Discord.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Yeah. So anybody that has any questions on BondPay, obviously, this was very short notice, kind of short on time. Wasn't a full in-depth AMA like you guys are used to hearing from me. So I have another question. Are you guys planning on, launching on any centralized exchanges soon after launch? Have you been in talks with any? You don't have to name them. Obviously, I know NDA reasons you can't, but have there been any discussions about that?
That would be the plan in the future, but at the moment it's to get the project up and launch and the application. I would have quite good relationships with quite a few exchanges. I've had the pleasure of visiting some in person, especially sort of around Asia. And I've met the CEOs of a few, and I'd have a good relation with a few exchanges. So obviously works out a lot better for the project in that regard as well. But yeah, that would be the plan, as is everyone's aspirations as a project. But my view currently of centralized exchanges in the current market is I don't think they bring a lot of value currently. I think there's better things you can do. You need to list on these exchanges at the right time and in the right market condition to really capitalize on what they can bring to a project.
Yeah, 100%. And personally, I think the best route for you guys to go would be the fiat on ramp instead of the centralized exchanges. With what you guys are planning on doing in marketing, I think the fiat on ramp would be the best way to go.
I'm going to have to bounce, but look, it was a pleasure
Yep.
being here, and I'm sure Chris, I think he's under a bit of pressure for time as well. Sorry it wasn't as long as what you usually do, but I hope we covered a good chunk of information in the time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, again, short notice for all of us. But I think we covered a good bit of it. And yeah, you guys did a great job. Chris, you can stick around if you want, and I can just keep rambling off questions to you if you have time.
I really don't, but I appreciate the offer.
Oh man. All right. Well, guys, this has been semi-informative, and as best as we could in the time allotted. I definitely appreciate Chris and Shane for coming and sharing with us. The links are all in the announcement. Join the TG, join the Discord, follow the Twitter,
And for
and
instance, they have 5 AMAs tomorrow. So if anybody is interested at all and you want a little bit more formal, in-depth coverage, they're also doing a Binance Live appearance tomorrow. Just join the socials and dig into it.
I might show up to ask some more questions. All right. So yeah, with that said, I'm going to end the recording since nobody else has any questions. Hang on one second, guys. Chris, stick around for 2 minutes, please. And I just want to thank everybody for coming to Astronaut Lounge. This has been BondPay. I'm Poppa Stonks, and if you are interested in this project, please check out their TG, get the links for the pre-sale, get the addresses for the swapper, Coinbase, what have you. And thank you for coming.